So why are more and more young adults choosing to go no contact with their family? Hi, I'm Eva Medilek, your transformational leadership and personal development coach, and I want to welcome you to Lifing Lessons with Eva. So today we're going to dive into one of the latest trends among young people today, and that is having no contact with your family. So if you know someone who is going through this, send them this video. If you're going through this, please like, share, subscribe. So I'm sure you've heard in the news, recently Brooklyn Beckham, the son of soccer star David Beckham and fashion designer and former Spice Girl Victoria Beckham, announced that he has no desire whatsoever to reconcile with his family based on how his mother acted inappropriately at his wedding, and apparently how he has felt controlled by his family dynamic his entire life. So, according to him, he's standing up for himself for the first time. Now, there's a rising trend happening with young adults deciding to cut off family and have no contact whatsoever. I just recently listened to one of Oprah's podcasts, and she had the parents and children who've decided to go no contact, parents whose children decided to no contact, to have no contact. So this is apparently something young people are doing more and more these days. Now, personally, over 5 years ago, I experienced something similar in my own family. My oldest daughter, who had previously decided to stop having contact with my ex-husband, her father, for a lot of valid reasons, in my opinion, she decided to block me and cut me off from all communication. And at the time, it was really, really hard to understand. And trying to have an adult conversation with her at that time proved fruitless, if you will. She'd been going through a lot in her personal life, and my husband and I tried to help her as much as we could. And at that time, it was clear her marriage and her job were having an effect on her mental health and well-being. And so anything we tried to do didn't help. And what actually happened was we ended up getting blamed for a lot of things. So we couldn't say or do anything right. And if she didn't get her way, she exploded on us. And the screaming and the yelling and the hanging up and the calling back, all of the things. Personally, I wanted so much to have her love me again. I mean, I missed her. And we had a lot of fun times together. I mean, she's the firstborn, my daughter, right? But we were being treated so badly in the situation. And yes, I will admit, when she erupted with me, I erupted back at her to the point where my husband saw how upset I was getting every time we did have a conversation. He suggested I shouldn't speak to her at all because of how I was feeling and starting to respond back. Excuse me. But she's my daughter. I wanted to have her back. And so it got to the point where she stopped having any kind of communication or conversation with me at all. And eventually, a therapist said something to me that made it really clear, put it all into perspective. And what she said was, this really hit me hard. What she said was, stop trying to make your daughter love you. And somehow, when she said it to me, those words created a safety net. It made it safe for me to step back and give her the space she needed to heal mentally and emotionally without inserting myself and making her want to be with me, want to love me, want to talk with me, want to communicate with me. And it was actually freeing because I had a life. My life was not completely wrapped up in my children. So I could move on. I could live without the stress and anxiety that the hostility that she was directing towards me was having on my own mental health and well-being. And then lo and behold, After 3+ years of no contact, she found her way back to me. And I'm so grateful to have her back. I'm also very mindful of making sure that I'm not saying things or behaving in a way that might trigger her because I've grown a lot emotionally as well. And it's clear that she's done a lot of work on herself and healing. So the state of affairs today is that we're both making the effort to be better human beings and better communicators with each other. But I do have my daughter back. I couldn't be happier. But what is behind this no contact movement in general? Now, my kid is a millennial. And at the time I was going through it, I really thought I was the only one. I didn't hide it. I wasn't ashamed of it. It was just a fact of life. But I had no idea that so many families were experiencing that kind of same type of exile, if you will. And so, what's behind it all? Well, there's actually a mix of things that's behind it all. There are a myriad of factors that are driving more and more young adults to limit or cut off contact completely with their family, especially when they are experiencing that relationship as either unsafe, invalidating, or mentally exhausting. Now, the key word here is what they experience, their experience, not yours, not mine, but what they are experiencing. So let's break down some of what they could be experiencing, okay? Some of it is chronic abuse, right? All forms of chronic abuse are the strongest reasons, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. After years of them enduring this type of behavior from the family dynamic or the parent, they choose their health and step away. And I say good for them for being brave enough to do that. But that's not the case with everyone who's trying to do that. Another reason is boundary violations that happen repeatedly. Parents are trying to control their young adults, and that can lead to separation, to the separation we're talking about, so that they can reclaim their autonomy. Parenting your adult child as if they were still teenagers, not learning to let go and let them grow up. That is a reason a lot of young people are choosing to step away. And then you've got mental health and substance abuse issues, either within the parent or with the young adult. You see, a lot of young people are suffering mentally and emotionally, and they don't know how to handle conflict or disagreements, and they become hypersensitive when things don't go their way. And then you've also got the parents who may have some substance abuse issues or mental health issues where the young person feels like they need to step away to protect themselves because they can't help their parent. All right. But what I find concerning is blaming parents for not being perfect as a reason to step away and cut off contact and have this no contact. This tends to happen when the young adult in question is emotionally immature and they feel that their parents have let them down in some way or not lived up to their expectations of what parenting should be or how parents should act and how, you know, some of them have, dare I say, entitlement issues. And if you're not living up to what they believe they're entitled to have from you, they may choose to step away and have no contact. So, my point is that in some cases, the no contact is a mature decision. And in other cases, it's an act of avoidance, especially when there is a conflict or potential for conflict and they don't know how to deal with it. They mentally and emotionally cannot handle conflict. And so when people are not skilled in how to communicate with each other or how to listen or how to try to understand with empathy and compassion, it's often easier to just avoid contact altogether. And for a lot of young adults, their parents were raised during a time when boundaries and emotional intelligence were just not practiced. There were cultural mores that varied from culture to culture. Emotions were not talked about. Emotions were not shared vulnerably. That may have been a sign of weakness, or we just don't do that in this family. And more today, people are talking about their emotions or they are being more vulnerable. And that's where I think, I'm not a therapist, let me just say that. I think understanding and compassion are needed for your parents and their life experiences. Look, and this is my message to everyone who's considering no contact with their parents or have already done it. I would just say that your parents did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. I mean, if you think of it this way, they only had a hammer and nails in their toolbox, right? That's all they had. And now you all have hammers, nails, power saws, electric screwdrivers, all these power tools, etc. So what they can build, what you can now build, is a lot different from what your parents could build. Think of it this way. The problem with some of the parents is that they can't learn to use the new tools that are available today. Some parents can, and they are growing and adapting emotionally and having that new level of maturity. But there are others that have a hard time learning these tools and their resistance to change. We didn't do it that way when I was growing up. It was different. Kids today, yada, yada, yada. So it's kind of like the three little pigs. If they insist on building a house made of straw because they won't use bricks that they now have at their disposal, that house is going to be unsafe. It's going to be unsafe in storms or when wolves attack and or whatever. Like you get to decide if you want to continue to put your health and safety at risk or maybe build your own house of bricks and stay protected or move to a house of bricks, all of those things. And that's when you get to protect yourself and you get to make that decision. Also, when you've got parents who are judgmental and not open to your choices and are openly critical, that causes a lot of young adults to pull back and not want to be exposed to that level of judgment and criticism so that they can protect their mental health and well-being. So there's all kinds of situations here. So whatever the cause for the estrangement, the no contact, whatever the cause is, communication is the key, whether it be for clarity and understanding or resolution. Because not every conflict or differing perspective, if you will, needs to lead to extreme no contact, right? And not everything really needs to be a reconciliation either. It can be a slippery slope. So learning to communicate in a way that brings clarity to both parties. So whatever the decision is that you make, you know why this is happening. And now you have a choice in trying to reconcile through whatever means you decide is the best path for reconciliation, or you can decide that estrangement, have a hard time with that word, estrangement is the best for everyone involved. So having these tough conversations might require you to have a third party facilitate these conversations, whether it be a therapist or a coach or a trusted friend, so that they can keep everything on track and make sure the conversation is moving forward in the right direction. Because, friends, every family situation is unique. So I want to encourage you to look at your own boundaries. Make sure they're communicated clearly because nobody's a mind reader. I know a lot of people expect their boundaries to be upheld, but they haven't made it clear what their boundaries are. And if you've done everything possible to keep the relationship and then you decide to go no contact, you'll be able to do so with clarity and with confidence that you made the right decision for you because you've tried everything else. Now, if your child has chosen the no contact option in your relationship, might be time for you to do some deep self-reflection and maybe seek out someone who can give you honest feedback too. But whatever the case is, you will need to honor and respect your child's decision, whether you agree with it or not. I know it's hard, and perhaps with time, clarity, and more maturity, they'll find their way back to you. I mean, I didn't think I would ever have my daughter back in my life and be willing to listen and hear her point of view and resist the urge to defend myself was really instrumental to paving our path back together. We both communicate, we respect each other's boundaries so far. I mean, so far it's been going really great. And that helps a lot because she is an adult. And I may still want to treat her as if she's that 12-year-old that was a little bit, well, if you know what a teenage girl is like, I don't need to say anything else. We're not perfect, but what I can say is that we have no more screaming matches. There are no signs of disrespect like they were. There's no ultimatums, if you will. We can talk now. And even if we don't agree, we can talk, we can hear what each other's saying and what each other is saying. And that's my wish for you too. Right? I want you, if you have experienced something like this or in the middle of it right now, I wish you can get to the point where you can at least communicate safely to each other and get clear on what you need in a relationship in order for it to stay intact and move forward. So, if you or someone you know has gone no contact, I want you to share your story or thoughts in the comments below. Okay? I want to hear what's going on with you. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Lifing Lessons with Eva. And if you found this video helpful, or perhaps you know someone who this video could be helpful for or could resonate with this, please share it. Please like it. Please subscribe to my channel by hitting those buttons below. And until next time, I will see you on the next episode of Lifing Lessons with Eva.